Game revenues will continue to boom. Samsung is gearing up for the next generation of gaming. Nintendo announced Nintendo Labo, plus a lot more. Let's get into the news. So the president of Nintendo, Tatsumi Kimishima, talked to a Japanese newspaper and talked about how the second year for the Nintendo Switch is extremely crucial. He understands that the Nintendo Switch is selling very well right now, but in order for it to continue its success, it will need to reach out to gamers that don't generally play game consoles all the time. And the second year will be very important for doing that. Kimishima also recognized that with the other consoles been out for a while, that these competitors may come out with a next generation or a new console at any time, which could take away from some of the momentum for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I completely agree with him, and it's funny how he talked to the newspaper about this the same week that they announced Nintendo Labo, which I will talk about further on in the video. However, he is correct on this, and especially with the PS4 and the Xbox One having already been out since 2013, these game consoles are coming to the end of their life cycle, and they will be announcing new stuff in the near future, obviously, and that will definitely take away the momentum from the Nintendo Switch. Splatoon 2 has become the first game in the last 10 years to sell 10 million copies in Japan. The last game to accomplish this feat was Wii Party, and this was back in 2010. Now, this is again great news for the Nintendo Switch, because not only is their hardware selling so well, their software is also doing amazing, and this is proven with the Splatoon 2 2 million copies being sold. So a retailer in Australia called Sanity has hinted that South Park Fractured But Whole will be making its way to the Nintendo Switch on March 13th. They did this with a placeholder on their website showing a coming soon picture, and it was for the game The South Park Fractured But Whole. Now, this is great news. I completed this game on the Xbox One, and it was one of my favorite games that I played in 2017. It is extremely funny, it is extremely fun, the storyline is hilarious, and it'll be a game that will fit perfectly on the Nintendo Switch because it doesn't take up that much memory, it isn't too graphically intensive, and it is a game that would be awesome to play on the go. So watch out for that if you're interested in that South Park game. So there was an extremely slick looking PlayStation 4 Monster Hunter World bundle announced, but it was only for Japan. And the other parts of the world like North America and Europe were wondering if we would ever get them. And luckily, this bundle will be coming to North America and to Europe for $449 US. This bundle will be a Gamestop exclusive, and you will be able to get your hands on it on January 26th. So with gaming becoming a bigger and bigger industry, it is already huge, but it continues to grow. DigiCapital forecasts that the gaming industry will make $235 billion in revenue by 2022. And they have broken it down on how those revenues will be made. So out of that $235 billion, 75% of it will be software sales. And this includes physical game sales, digital game sales, and microtransactions and subscriptions. The platforms that will continue to lead the way as they do today out of this $235 billion will be PC gaming and mobile gaming. They will make up $95 billion out of that 235. Now, this makes complete sense because everybody has a phone pretty much, so obviously more and more people will be able to play games on their phones, and a lot more people who just want to play games casually will be playing games on their phone. And if you have a PC, you really don't have to have the most powerful PC to play a lot of these games, and most people have a PC out of necessity for other things, and it may attract them to play games because they have the PC there for them. So on top of that, they also predicted that AR and VR will continue to grow. And this to me is a great thing because I fully believe in those two technologies. I have VR and I've experienced AR, and I think they are completely awesome, but those will continue to grow by 2022. And esports will only make up about 1%, even less than 1% of the total revenues in 2022. Scribblenauts Showdown will be making its way to the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One, and the PS4 on March 9th. And what will differentiate this Scribblenauts game from its predecessors is it will have a 4-player showdown mode where it's a party mode where you compete against your friends and use strategy and creative skill to win. Now, further on this new Scribblenauts game, this is what the developers had to say about it. Sandbox mode, the Scribblenauts series' cherished creative playground, allows 1 or 2 players to solve objectives in 8 new levels by summoning any objective they can, imagine and earn hidden star rights and achievements. Players can also let their imaginations run wild by unleashing whatever objects they can think of and watching them interact in unexpected ways. Adding to the family fun, players can either choose or design their own original Scribblenaut to represent them throughout the game, all drawn in the classic Scribblenauts art style. The Scribblenaut can be further customized with unique clothing and quirky accessories while earning star rights and completing achievements. Now personally, I've never played a Scribblenauts game, but I see it as a kind of interesting thing where you can draw your own stuff and be very creative and create kind of your own world. So I may pick this one up on the Nintendo Switch because just the fact that it is on that platform to me makes it a lot more appealing, and I'm excited to see what it's all about. So Square Enix has weighed in on loot boxes. In a recent interview with Metro.uk, the president and CEO of Square Enix, Yosuke Masuda, was asked about what he thought about the recent controversy with loot boxes, NDA, and Battlefront 2. And here's what he had to say. It is obviously very bad to have loot boxes that get in the way of the player experience or detract from it in some way. That's clearly not a good thing. You have to really think about what they do to add to the overall gameplay experience and how they fit in with that and the overall design of the game. I think that's the way we should look at these things. Matsuda was also questioned on some of his comments earlier he had made in a business report about how he looked at games as a service, and here's how he responded to that. The way we use that expression, really the whole idea for a single player game particularly, is the idea that you have the game released and you keep adding more content to keep the player engaged and enjoying the game. So after reading this and looking at the interview, to me, Square Enix has the right frame of mind when it comes to loot boxes and when it comes to games as a service. Now, this isn't saying that they're going to do this throughout their entire life, and maybe he's just saying that to appease the people that are reading it. But right now, Square Enix is definitely on the right track from where they think about loot boxes and games as a service. So if you're like me, you love the Fable games. You played the original Fable on the Xbox original, you played the Fables on the Xbox 360, and when they announced Fable Legends, you got pretty excited, but at the same time, you were kind of up in there and iffy about what it was because they were kind of going off course to the original Fable playstyle. Well, luckily, they have announced that there is a new Fable in development, and it is by Playground Games. Playground Games is the developer that had created Forza Horizon, and they are working on a new open world action RPG in the same style as the old Fable games. And we don't know when this will be released, but it's good news to hear that they are working on it. This is especially good news if you own an Xbox One, because Xbox is starving for exclusives. And a new Fable game, I think, especially with the cancellation of Scalebound, which looked to be like a great open world RPG coming to the Xbox, will make a huge jump and will get people excited to play an exclusive game on the Xbox One. So the PS4 had an update this week. It really was just for system performance, nothing really notable on it. It was update 5.05. It was only about 374 megabytes. If you haven't downloaded it though, next time you turn on your PS4 and you're connected to the internet, you will be downloading that update. So Samsung has begun to produce its first 16 gigabyte GDDR6 chips with 10 nanometer class technology. Here is what Samsung has to say about these chips. Beginning with this early production of the industry's first 16GB GDDR6, we will offer a comprehensive graphics dynamic RAM lineup with the highest performance and densities in a very timely manner. So the big advantage to these chips is that they will have obviously better performance, they will have a less strain on your computer's power, and they will be cheaper to create, therefore they may be cheaper to buy. These new cards will have up to double the speeds of the current 8GB GDDR5 chips, and they will have speeds up to 72 gigabytes per second. In terms of their efficiency with energy, they will use up to 35% less energy than the current chips, and they will be able to manufacture more at a faster speed, therefore they can create more of them and they will cost less for the consumer. So if you're not aware, which I'm sure you are, Nintendo announced Nintendo Labo earlier this week. And now this is something that people have been talking about non-stop, because if you see it, it is completely out of the box. It's something that is vintage Nintendo, something that you would expect from Nintendo, but you wouldn't expect, you'd still be surprised when you see exactly what the project is. And basically what it is the do-it-yourself cardboard creations that interact with the Nintendo Switch. They showed off a bunch of different creations, like one was a piano, one was a robot where you punch and it interacted with the Nintendo Switch, and what you were doing with these cardboards was having an effect on the screen of the Nintendo Switch. Now when I first saw this, my first reaction was I have zero interest in this whatsoever. But I did think to myself that since Nintendo indicated that this is geared towards children, it is vintage Nintendo and it is a genius idea. They're gonna make millions off of cardboard, and it is something that will just take over the market and kids everywhere are gonna want it. My next thought was, it's cardboard, so how durable is this? Are kids gonna break this easily? Is it gonna be pretty good cardboard? Like, who knows until it comes out? But Nintendo announced that if you were to buy one of these sets and it breaks, they're not going to replace it, but they will put the designs online for you to be able to reprint them if you do happen to break your cardboard. So there is that, but they are pretty pricey, starting at about $80 US. So I mean, you're going to want to take care of this if you are to get it. You're not going to want to break it fast, or hopefully it doesn't break at all. But it'll be very interesting to see just how crazy people go for this Nintendo Labo stuff and how crazy it takes over the market. Personally, like I said, this is vintage Nintendo. This is absolutely genius. I think it's going to sell like crazy. It's going to put Nintendo Switch on the map even more. And like I talked about in the beginning of this video, where the president of Nintendo said that they need to reach out to more casual gamers and people that don't play game consoles all the time, this Nintendo Labo will be the perfect thing for that, because parents are going to want to get this to play with their children. Children who weren't able to play the Nintendo Switch, or obviously don't know much about the Nintendo Switch right now, are going to see this Nintendo Labo and they're going to want it, and they're just going to continue to sell. And I personally think that this could possibly propel the Nintendo Switch to be the highest selling console of all time. But that is way down the road, so we'll have to wait and see. But this was a genius idea by Nintendo that isn't geared to people like me, but will take off with children and parents who have children and want to interact with their Nintendo Switch with their children. So this week's cheap game of the week is actually pretty old. It came out in 2013, and that game is Teslagrad. This game is a puzzle platforming side-scrolling game. I played this, and I played it on the PS Vita, but you can get it now on the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch. So they are revitalizing it by putting it out on these platforms, and it is a great game. It has a great environment, great graphics, and it has a very interesting way in telling the story. There are no cinematic cutscenes, there's no voice acting, and there are no subtitles to guide you through the game. However, you are told the story through a series of puppet shows that allows you to know what's going on and why you're actually progressing through this game. The puzzles in the game continuously get harder and harder, and as you continue throughout the game, you get new powers in order to solve these puzzles. Now, you can pick up this game for about $5 on all of these platforms, and I would highly suggest it if you're interested in those side-scrolling puzzle platforming game. So that's your news. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, share this video around with your friends, let me know what you think in the comments below about any of these news items, and I'll catch you in the next video.